Have you ever stayed up nights replaying her texts, wondering what she really meant? Felt torn because one day she's warm, the next she's distant, and you're left chasing shadows, lost between her words and her actions? In modern relationships, you're expected to tolerate confusion, settle for mixed signals, accept chaos. What if you didn't have to? What if, after this, women will never confuse you again, isn't just a catchy phrase, but a turning point if you decide right now that you've had enough? Drop a comment with the phrase, "No more confusion," if you want that not just for you, but for every man stuck in her maze. Number 1. Confusion is the result of ignoring patterns. She doesn't confuse you. You confuse yourself by constantly excusing what is obvious. You are not lost because women are unpredictable. You are lost because you have made unpredictability acceptable. You take chaos and turn it into hope. You witness disrespect, then label it mixed signals. She pulls away and you rationalize it as stress. She flirts one day, disappears the next, and instead of stepping back to assess the pattern, you chase even harder, thinking that effort will earn you back the affection that already faded. But the truth is brutal. This isn't confusion, it's exposure. It's the truth hitting you in slow motion, and every time you choose to ignore it, you feed the very behavior that's breaking you. You wonder why you're in mental agony, why your confidence crumbles, why you're anxious all day. It's because you are betraying your own judgment just to hold on to a fantasy. A man who has patterns doesn't need closure. A man who tracks behavior doesn't need long conversations to understand where he stands. Imagine you meet a woman who constantly keeps you on edge. She says she's into you, but she cancels last minute. She forgets your name when texting. She avoids commitment, but because she drops small crumbs of interest, you cling to them like proof she still cares. You don't ask, "What's her consistency like over time?" You ask, "How can I make her choose me again?" That's where the suffering lives. You have to reverse that question. Ask yourself, what have I allowed that taught her she could treat me like an option? Patterns are not about obsessing over her actions. They're about taking accountability for your response to them. You accept what you feel worthy of. When you tolerate erratic behavior, you're broadcasting low standards. She's not playing games. She's responding to what you've silently agreed to. And if you're honest, you've agreed to a lot. You've agreed to silence after effort. You've agreed to attention on her terms. You've agreed to an emotional roller coaster she controls, because you never wanted to confront what it means to walk away. That's the part that breaks men. Walking away is hard because it means facing a life where you stop outsourcing your peace to her validation. But it's also the only way you reclaim your power. The moment you recognize patterns, not feelings, you free yourself from the emotional trap. Real clarity begins when you detach from what she says and attach to what she does over time. You don't need to fight or argue or prove anything. You just need to observe, note, decide. Is this behavior acceptable to the life you want to build? If not, why are you still here? Write that down. Sit with it. Track the patterns over 30 days. When her actions consistently break your peace, withdraw. Not out of punishment, but out of discipline. Women aren't hard to read. We just refuse to look. Patterns don't lie. And when you build the strength to follow patterns, not promises, you become unshakable. You become the man she either respects or loses access to. That is how confusion ends. Not with her changing, but with you finally seeing. And once you see the patterns clearly, once you reclaim that vision of your worth, the next step is to never forget it. And that's exactly why I created the Stoic Relationship Blueprint, linked for you in the comments. This isn't just another ebook. It's your reference point for every moment you feel confused again, every time you feel yourself slipping back into old habits, every time a woman says one thing and does another, and your gut tightens with doubt. Imagine having a guide that reminds you exactly who you are, what you deserve, and how to respond with strength instead of surrender. It's yours for life, no games. Just timeless principles rooted in self-respect and stoic clarity that you can return to anytime your peace is tested. If you've ever asked, "Why do I keep getting stuck in the same cycles?" or "How do I stop letting women confuse me?" this book answers you line by line. Own it once, keep it forever, reclaim your clarity for life. Number 2, mixed signals are clear messages. The biggest lie you've been sold is that women don't know what they want. So you waste years decoding texts, replaying tone of voice, second-guessing what she meant when she said she needs space, but posts selfies for attention 2 hours later. But the truth is simple and brutal. She knows exactly what she's doing, and the only person who doesn't is you. Mixed signals are not signs of indecision. They're signs of low interest, of emotional manipulation, of a test you keep failing by chasing answers instead of setting standards. Every time she pulls away after pulling you close, you call it confusion, but she calls it control. Because the moment you start questioning yourself is the moment she owns your focus, your emotions, your decisions. This is how you become the puppet of a game she won't even admit she's playing. And the only reason she keeps playing it is because it works. Think about it. You wouldn't accept mixed signals from a job, a friend, or a business partner. If a company kept rescheduling interviews or never called back, you'd assume they're not interested and move on. But when a woman does it, you assume you need to try harder. You double text, you overthink, you lower your standards and call it love. And this is where you fall apart, not because she's powerful, but because you handed her the blueprint to manipulate you by responding to ambiguity with obsession. Every delay becomes an opportunity for you to chase. Every silence becomes a riddle you try to solve with affection. But women are not confused. They are selective. When a woman likes a man, she doesn't send mixed signals. She makes time. She shows effort. She initiates. She responds. She invests. She listens. She doesn't disappear without reason and return without apology. So why are you tolerating anything less? Because deep down, you think love is earned through suffering. That's the core issue. Somewhere along the way, you were conditioned to believe that the more unclear it is, the more valuable it must be. That the more it hurts, the more real it must be. You confuse anxiety with love, withdrawal with depth, and chaos with compatibility. But Stoic discipline teaches otherwise. What is right for you brings clarity, not confusion. The more you chase the unclear, the more you reveal your lack of self-respect. It's time to reframe. Mixed signals are your sign to leave, not fight. If she's unsure, the answer is no. If she pulls away, you step back further. Not to teach her a lesson, but to teach yourself your worth. That's how the dynamic shifts. The moment you stop trying to understand her confusion and start understanding your value, you break the cycle. Instead of analyzing what she meant, you analyze what she did. Instead of hoping she'll return to who she was in the beginning, you remember that the beginning was likely just her mask. And that's a hard truth to accept. Because sometimes what you think was chemistry was just manipulation. What felt like connection was convenience. What looked like love was leverage. And you gave her all your energy in exchange for breadcrumbs. But now that you see it, you have two choices. Keep playing her game or exit and build a life where your clarity becomes your power. You want action? Here's what you do. When she sends vague messages, don't reply immediately. When she's inconsistent, match her distance. When she flakes, don't chase, don't ask, replace. Fill your time with building, read, train, network, grow. Let your life become so full that her confusion becomes irrelevant. Let her wonder why you're no longer available for the circus. That's how you regain control, not by fixing her signals, but by becoming the man who doesn't need them decoded. Because you've finally decided that mixed messages are just polite rejections dressed in emotional bait. And you're done being the fool who bites every time. Number 3. Neediness destroys masculine polarity. Neediness is not just unattractive, it's the silent killer of your identity, the invisible surrender of your dignity, in the hope that she'll finally see you as enough. It starts small. You check if she's online. You reread old conversations. You overanalyze her tone. You find excuses to text, then justify it as just checking in. But underneath that behavior is a bleeding truth. You fear losing her more than you value yourself. That fear makes you predictable. That fear makes you emotional. That fear makes you easy to control. And she feels it before you even speak. Your energy changes. Your attention clings. Your self-worth shrinks. And in response, she does what nature programs her to do. She pulls back. She tests. She disconnects. Because the polarity is broken. She no longer sees you as someone she needs to earn, but someone desperate to be chosen. That's when the disrespect creeps in. The flaking starts. The tone changes. The interest dies. And instead of stepping away, you go deeper, thinking more gifts, more effort, more proving will fix it. But all it does is bury you. Because women don't fall for the man who waits at her feet. They fall for the man who walks his own path and never begs for her company. That's where polarity lives. In contrast, not comfort. In presence, not pressure. You destroy it the moment you give up your emotional frame and make her the center of your decisions. Look around. How many men lose themselves the second they feel affection from a woman? They shift their priorities, change their behavior, become over-accommodating, terrified of conflict, terrified of setting standards, terrified of saying no, because deep down, they think losing her is the end. But it's not. Losing her isn't the tragedy. Losing yourself is. Because when you hand over your power in the name of love, you don't get love. You get tolerated, used, and replaced. This is the hardest truth most men will never accept. The more you try to earn her love, the less she feels it. Because real attraction is not earned, it's evoked through contrast, through mystery, through presence that cannot be bought or begged for. You want her to respect you? Then stop apologizing for existing. Stop over-explaining your intentions. Stop asking for reassurance. Start building your backbone. Start saying no when it disrespects your time. Start putting your goals above your need for her affection. That's not arrogance, it's alignment. And the moment she feels it, everything shifts. Her tone changes. Her presence returns. Not because you chased, but because you pulled back into your own world and stopped making her your source of validation. That's the paradox. The less you need her to want you, the more she wants to be around you. But it's not a game. It's a return to your center. It's becoming the man who walks away from confusion, who doesn't beg for crumbs, who doesn't compromise his soul for companionship. That's polarity. And when you live from it, you attract from strength, not from need. So if you're tired of being ignored, tired of being ghosted, tired of being emotionally tossed around, stop looking at her. Start looking at you. Ask yourself, what am I chasing and what does it cost me? Then make the decision most men never do. Cut the emotional leash. Reclaim your time. Rewire your standards. Replace neediness with purpose. Replace fear with direction. Replace attachment with clarity. That's how you become dangerous in the best way possible. Not reckless, but untouchable. Not reactive, but resolved. And in that space, you don't just regain polarity, you become the man she respects, desires, and cannot manipulate. Number 4. She reacts to your energy, not your effort. You can say all the right things, buy her flowers, write her long messages, take her on trips, meet her emotional needs, and still lose her to a man who says less, does less, but holds himself with unshakable presence, purpose, and self-respect. Why? Because women don't fall for effort, they fall for energy. The truth that no one tells you is that it's not what you do for her that keeps her interested. It's how you make her feel when you're not trying to impress her. And right now, your energy screams insecurity, desperation, overcompensation, and emotional dependency. And she feels that even before you open your mouth. She sees your uncertainty in the way you wait for her replies, like a dog at the door. She feels your desperation in the way you over-text and over-apologize. She hears your emotional chaos in the way you seek reassurance for things that should have been non-negotiable. And even though you might not say it out loud, your body, your tone, your hesitation, it all tells her you've put her on a pedestal and removed yourself from your throne. You've forgotten that women aren't drawn to the man who needs them. They're drawn to the man who makes them feel safe in his stability, who makes them wonder, not chase, who lives in his own lane, so grounded that her moods don't disrupt his momentum. Your energy is what speaks when you say nothing, and that's what she responds to. You think she lost interest because you didn't try hard enough, but in reality, she lost respect because you tried too hard without strength behind it. You traded your edge for approval. You became emotionally soft, over-available, predictable. You stopped being a challenge. You became her emotional mirror instead of her emotional anchor. You want her to feel drawn to you? Stop chasing and start becoming the man whose life commands attention without asking for it. Stop reacting to her distance by closing the gap. Stop adjusting your energy every time she withdraws. Let her come and go. Let her notice that your emotional state is not on her schedule, because when your life has direction, when your self-worth is internal, when your focus is on mission, not attention, you emit energy that doesn't ask to be loved. It commands respect. And that's the difference. You don't keep a woman by doing everything right. You keep her by being someone she cannot fully predict, fully control, or fully replace. That starts with you realizing that her reactions to you have less to do with what you say and more to do with what you are projecting emotionally without even realizing it. If your vibe says, "Please don't leave," she feels that weakness and begins to pull away. But if your vibe says, "You're welcome here, but I'm whole without you," she feels curiosity, respect, and emotional gravity. You want to flip the script? Start moving with calm certainty. Don't respond to her delay with anxiety. Respond with detachment. Don't ask her where you stand. Let her wonder where she stands with you. Don't perform, just be. Stop explaining yourself so much. Stop trying to convince her of your worth. Start living like someone who believes in it. Build routines that don't revolve around her attention. Build habits that improve your mind, body, and future. Build silence into your life, not as a tactic, but as a reflection of your emotional maturity. Because the moment you stop adjusting your energy for approval is the moment she starts adjusting hers to keep your attention. That's the reversal you need. That's the shift from weak to powerful. Not by becoming someone else, but by returning to who you were before you let your self-respect be traded for attention. This is how you change the game, not by chasing more, but by being less available for chaos, more grounded in purpose, more focused on your direction than her confusion. And once you live from that space, you'll see it. Women begin to act different, speak different, show up different. Not because you changed them, but because you finally mastered the energy they've been waiting to feel. Number 5. Setting boundaries creates respect. If you want to stop being confused by women, stop tolerating disrespect wrapped in charm. The truth is, most men don't lack options, they lack boundaries. They let things slide that should have been stopped at the door. They let rudeness go unchecked, Accept flakiness like it's part of dating. Justify being put on hold like it's a phase. And every time you do that, you teach her that your presence is cheap, your time is flexible, and your self-worth is negotiable. That's why she treats you like a backup plan, not a priority, because you never drew the line. Boundaries are not ultimatums. Boundaries are self-respect in action. And until you start enforcing them, you will always find yourself begging for clarity in relationships that are only meant to drain you. You think she pulls away because you're not doing enough, but she pulls away because you don't stand for anything. She tests you, pushes your limits, shows up late, gets passive-aggressive, cancels last minute, not because she's evil, but because she's watching what you allow. And when you keep rewarding that with more love, more time, more availability, you teach her that your peace has no price. Think about it. The man who never says no gets walked on. The man who always explains himself gets tuned out. The man who tolerates disrespect once becomes the man who expects it forever. That's your reality. That's why you feel powerless, because you have allowed her to lead a relationship with your silence instead of your standards. You need to understand this. Love without respect is manipulation. And respect doesn't come from your effort. It comes from your refusal to compromise on your values. She doesn't respect you because you're always there. She respects the man who isn't afraid to walk away. She doesn't admire you because you make no demands. She admires the man who calmly states what's acceptable and leaves when it's violated. You want peace? Start enforcing the boundaries you keep in your head but never say out loud. Start telling the truth when something makes you uncomfortable. Start calling out inconsistencies, not with anger, but with finality. And stop explaining yourself so much. Stop justifying your standards to people who have no intention of respecting them. The man who values himself doesn't ask others to agree. He simply acts. And that's when everything changes. Because when you finally set those boundaries, she either levels up or leaves. And both are a win. If she levels up, it means you've created space for a healthy dynamic. If she leaves, it means you've dodged a lifetime of emotional warfare. Either way, you've reclaimed your power. And the ripple effect is massive. You stop being anxious. You stop chasing. You start attracting people who respect your time, your energy, and your direction. You start feeling proud of yourself again, not because she chose you, but because you chose to stop betraying yourself just to keep someone close. And here's what no one tells you. Once you get a taste of that level of self-respect, you never go back. You stop entertaining anyone who drains you. You stop tolerating flakiness, disrespect, and confusion. You stop needing to explain why something doesn't sit right. You just move different, quieter, stronger, clearer. And women feel that. They respect that. Because most men are so desperate to be chosen that they forget the power of choosing who gets access. You want to be respected. Then respect yourself so fiercely that losing someone who disrespects you feels like relief, not rejection. And you start that today by setting just one non-negotiable. Write it down, repeat it, live it. If it gets crossed, you walk. Not out of emotion, but out of discipline. Because real boundaries don't bend for beauty, for charm, or for temporary validation. They stand tall, and the man who enforces them stands taller. That's how you end confusion. That's how you transform your relationships. That's how you reclaim your life. And that's exactly how, after this, you will never be confused by a woman again. If you're tired of guessing where you stand, tired of begging for clarity from women who only give you confusion, then the Stoic Relationship Blueprint is your way out, and it's linked in the comments. This isn't just a book. It's your permission to stop suffering, to stop being manipulated, to finally own your peace without needing her to validate it. You've been lied to. Effort alone doesn't earn respect. Clarity and boundaries do. If you're ready to lead, not chase, to be chosen, not tolerated, then this blueprint is the shift you've been waiting for. Comment "Clarity over chaos" if you're ready to claim it now. Like the video, subscribe. Because every time you do, another man wakes up, and we save him years of regret before he wastes them on someone who was never worth the pain.